Whether you're charging time and materials or not, it's more than likely that at some point you're going to want to track how many bags of salt, how many tons of salt, how many pounds, yards, maybe even gallons of brine you're using per site. To do that, we'll go to the Consumables tab, and now we'll choose which piece that we're going to want to include in Yeti. Let's say I'm using 100-pound bags of salt, and I want to track on my sites how many of those bags I used. So we have two options here. Number one, I can include a default rate. So let's say that default rate is $100 per bag for my client. Now, if you are charging time and materials and that rate per 100-pound bag is different client to client, don't worry. You will still be able to go into the clients tab later and change that per client. This is just a default rate. And let's say your subcontractors are charging you $50 per bag on average. Maybe that varies. And again, later on, you can go to subcontractors and change this per sub. So if you're not charging for this at all, we can also zero these amounts out. And by adding in a zero, what we're doing is making this a selectable consumable. So maybe you're charging per visit. You don't need to necessarily charge per 100-pound bag. You just need to know how many bags you use. So at the end of the season, you can say, okay, on this site, I used X amount of bags. By adding in a $0 value here, we're now able to track it. On the right-hand side, you're also going to see a toggle that says Display to Operators. If I toggle this back, 100-pound bags will no longer display on the mobile app. And if I turn it back on, they will display. When is this handy? This would be handy if you're also using Yeti for lawn care and landscaping. In that case, you don't want your operators to accidentally select a 100-pound bag of salt in the middle of July. Rather than removing it completely, we can just turn this off on the mobile app. This will come in handy down below as well if you are using this for lawn care and landscaping. If you start to add in, let's say, fertilizer per 50-pound bag or grass seed, herbicide even. At that point, same thing applies. During my winter season, I'll likely want to turn off the display to operators so that, on the reverse here, my operators aren't accidentally selecting grass seed in the middle of January. If you have any questions about how to use the consumables feature, how to add in consumables, how to use the default rates here, please reach out to onboarding@yetisnow.com.